they find them.
Hey, good morning, everyone. We are currently monitoring Reporter Czar Tom Homan, who is in Minnesota right now giving a press conference. He's basically making the case right now to the public for why an agreement needs to come together with Democrats there. It sounds like they don't have one yet. That's the impression I'm getting. Dan and Sean.
No, I think they. I mean,
Close?
my sense is they do, and I would just say, and I just stopped watching, so
Sure.
this may change, but that may be the most textbook and perfect example of how to conduct a press conference, turn the page, and show leadership. Just based on what I've seen, the tone, the tenor, the words. We'll break it down here, but well done, Tom Homan. Again,
I agree with
that. I'm
that.
not watching anymore. This could go off the rails.
Yeah, well, that's when the questions start, Dan. But totally, what a different posture from him and tone and tenor, like you said, professional, reaching out to Democrats and not sort of like sticking it to people. So we'll get into that in a few minutes.
I just say it's like a relief. It's almost like you feel the exhaustion come off you when you listen to him because it is so responsible and reasonable. But again, the day's just started.
That's right. Let's start with something a little fun. First element, actually. Sean had a little fun yesterday. Check out this picture, guys. Where is it? Here it comes. Oh, Sean with Nicki Minaj. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, I went, as I mentioned yesterday on the show, I went to the Trump accounts event. It was fascinating. A really well done event logistically by the Treasury Department and their team. And then, Nicki was backstage. You could see chatting it up with folks. She did a conversation with Alex Bruzewitz, the Trump sort of social media podcast guru from the campaign. A lot of great folks there. Cheryl Hines was there. Kevin O'Leary was there. Obviously, the president was there. Scott Bessent, Mike Johnson. A lot of really amazing business leaders as well. But just, it was funny. We talked about it yesterday, and I'll just say it again. When you start to understand the full depth and breadth of these Trump accounts, I mean, at first I was like, okay, rhetoric. And you realize the president's not joking when he talks about transformational. Like, these things are being seeded by the government with $1,000, then private sector, several individuals, philanthropists have stepped up and said, I'll match it in the state. So you start realizing that if you do put the money in and the kids can't touch it, it's got to go to an index fund. It is the model of how we should do things. And you realize they started just throw some basic numbers out, what kids will have at 18, 21, et cetera. And this builds wealth for every single American kid. I think this is a brilliant idea. And the best part about it, there's literally like no government touching. They can't steal it. They can't trade off of it. This is what we should, this is, again, to me, I'm going to write my column about this for tomorrow because this is what we should be doing. And everyone applauded it. No one's crapping on it because you can't, but the dirty little secret.
Crapping on the name. Well, to be sure. Democrats will call it something else someday. But no, it's funny because I was actually expecting you to go into the fun of meeting Nicki Minaj rather than the policy of the whole thing.
I mean, I want to know what you thought of that outfit because
I love that white fur. Let
me just tell you that was a ball of fur. There's no getting around it.
Okay,
I also like the fact that you said Nicki Minaj and Trump. That usually it doesn't go in that order. It's like Trump and then a bunch of people. But in that instance, it was Nicki Minaj.
She's the star here. Okay, guys. So today we'll obviously talk about Tom Homan meeting the press. We're going to talk about the White House and Schumer being close on this deal to avert an ICE shutdown. There is a new video of Alex Preddy from 11 days before he was killed. We're going to discuss that. A lot of people talking about it online and getting a lot of coverage on television as well. We'll talk about the bases bristling, the left, what they think of, Democrats' talks right now with Republicans and the right, and how some of them don't like the new posture that the administration is taking on ICE enforcement. We'll talk about Mamdani and Hochul being at war on taxes. Maybe not war yet, but obviously on different pages. And then we'll also discuss the FBI raiding Fulton County election offices, which a lot of folks on the right are discussing.
And the left. Oh, they're talking about it on the left too.
Yes, right. Everybody's chatting about this and has a deep-seated opinions that don't reflect each other's at all. Very different. So, Okay, just a quick note. Let's my housekeeping request for the day. Guys, like the show. If you're watching on YouTube, go and give us a thumbs up. Like the show if you've already subscribed. And then after you do that, tell a friend about the show. Get them to watch it. Get them to subscribe. We're getting our numbers up, and we're happy about that. But we want to keep juicing and moving toward, bigger and better things. So thank you for your support.
It's gonna be the greatest show ever on YouTube.
Ever. Very good.
Ever.
Okay,
Many
let's look
people
at the
are
day
watching.
book. So at 10 o'clock, the president's going to get his intelligence briefing. At 11 o'clock, this is a big event at the White House today, cabinet meeting. This is going to be the first time we've seen Kristi Noem since she gave that now infamous press conference where she suggested Preddy had arrived at the scene intent on killing law enforcement. So I'm sure a lot of questions will not just be directed at the president, but potentially toward her and maybe an aide who will be in the room on the side, Stephen Miller, amid all
Or
the
maybe the vice.
Listen, if I were the White House, that would be like the tease, like if this the upcoming episode, the next cabinet meeting is today. What will Miller and Noem do? And then you do a shot of each in the corner. I'm going to tell Kristi this. And I think this, I'm excited.
Sean, let me ask you this. Remember when Elon was there, he'd sit off to the side, but he would speak, right? He'd be called. Will Miller be called upon to say a few words?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they don't. They're pretty protective of staff, I would say.
Yeah,
and don't want
Elon
them.
was in his own. He was like cabinet level because he was Doge.
He's a celebrity. Yeah.
But Trump loves Miller. I mean, and I say this
For sure.
he's a diehard. Like, he's been with them forever. So I wonder if he allows a defense of Miller by the cabinet and have him say something. Also, it's the first time we're going to hear from J.D. Vance, who has been silent since Saturday in public.
Does he talk much at cabinet meetings? Very quickly,
They
Sean?
all do.
They go around. I just
Come on, you have to. You got to say how great he is.
Okay. So we'll obviously be watching that. 4:30. The president's going to be making an announcement from the Oval Office. Oh, I missed something big. 11:30 on the Hill. The Senate is going to be holding its first procedural vote on these final 6 funding bills. Basically, Democrats will want to know by 11:30 if they have a deal with the White House, because if they do, they'll vote to sort of advance this package. It's like a procedural vote, and then they sort of amend it on the back end. But if they don't have a deal, you could see them maybe vote against it. So we'll be watching that. And then the big event here in Washington, 7 o'clock tonight, is the debut of Melania, the new documentary about the First Lady. She and the president will attend.
Just to be clear, for if you haven't gotten the guest guidance, the president's leaving the White House at 7, but the premiere starts at 8:30. Just FYI. So.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. 7 o'clock. He's leaving. Red carpet. It's going to be a lot of, pomp and glam. It's at the Trump Kennedy Center. We're expecting celebrities, NFL players, UFC fighters, cabinet secretaries, musicians,
former press secretaries.
And apparently there's 2, not one.
I got that, Sean.
Wait, I missed the reference.
Sean is going.
Wait, okay, so are you going to the after party too?
I'm not gonna look for security reasons. I don't disclose my location.
First off, Rachel, it's parties.
I know I said two after parties.
Yes, correct. Not just a party.
Yeah.
And we also just have to say, for those who have not seen it, the financial numbers behind this, I mean, it is, you will chuckle. The fact that they paid her $40 million and expect the film to make $3 to $5 million, which by my math, and I'm not great at math, most companies don't make investments that are going to lose 80%.
Well, I mean,
I will also just note, hold on, I'm not done, because we're not just content if you're Amazon with losing 80% of your investment. You also have spent a reported $40 million on marketing when the average Amazon film marketing budget that makes money, mind you, is only $5 million. All, of course, a coincidence. I have no doubt at all.
Listen,
it's unbelievable.
Two things. I'll say to you this, but
we all know what's going on.
Well, of course, just so everyone cannot. For those who haven't had their coffee yet, Amazon is outright bribing the Trumps.
Okay, well, look,
I continue.
Just because, again, what we're reading are a bunch of random anonymous industry. So Do you want to bet that movie does well in excess of $3 to $5 million at the box office?
I can only go when they made the investment and they modeled it. That is what they said. Should it surprise? That's amazing.
That's what people said. I mean, like, this isn't like coming from Amazon. Like, this is what
it says sources with Amazon, but okay. All right. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll bet you.
Look, I was going to say, what's the bet here? We need to need to document.
Oh, I mean,
it makes more or less than what's the number, Sean?
Well, you can buy and I mean, this is where like both parties know tricks to juice perception. It's like buying books, right? I mean,
I'm gonna watch it. I totally will watch it.
I'm sure it'll be beautiful. And that's not a knock on Melania.
Glamorous. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I will definitely watch that at some point. Okay, let's do a quick word from our sponsors, then we'll jump back into Homan. Dan.
Yes. All right. Well, look, I mean, you hear us talking about Cozy Earth all the time, and how much it's like just like infiltrated our house, our apartment here in New York City. Last night, I cooked dinner, was not the kids' favorite. The kitchen smelled. How did we get rid of it? We used a Cozy Earth candle. I just lit it, took care of the stench in the kitchen. Everybody was very happy. Everybody liked it. And afterwards,
wrap yourself in a blanket.
Yeah, yours truly smelled a little bit. I put on my Cozy Earth pajamas, and they were terrific. And we had a small incident in our house because we only have one set of Cozy Earth sheets, and it happened to be put on one of the kids' beds that is not used to it. He loved it, and so Amazon sheets are going out the door. We are getting more Cozy Earth sheets because they are so popular. So, again, it's all their products are wonderful. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use our code Huddle, BOGO. It's all one word. Huddle, BOGO, as in buy one, get one free on pajamas. That applies. Go to CozyEarth.com.
Yeah, look, there's a potential storm coming this weekend. So get those Cozy Earth pajamas right now. Order them today, and you might, if that storm, if the European model comes to fruition, you'll thank us later.
There you go.
Right.
By the way, just your little note. This was free, but I got a Trump Accounts mug. Everyone loves a good piece of swag, like me.
You're just selling these things big time, telling people
that's free. That's free.
Trump accounts. All right, guys, let's jump back into Homan. So we obviously, he's probably still talking right now. We didn't see the portion of him taking questions from reporters, but just a little bit about what he said. Very smart play on his part, opened everything by sort of touting what the president has done at the border, talked about the problem of illegal immigration and undocumented in this country and how bad it was under Biden and what they have done so far. Always a good move with the boss. And then he basically, like you said, Dan, like very much like, had this tone of outreach. He said that, they've had these meetings with Democrats in Minnesota, that they've come a long way, that he thinks that they're close to a win on Minnesota. And what they're going to do there. He said they all agree community safety is paramount. He did suggest there was still some disagreement on enforcement, right? And he made this plea. It was a plea to Democrats in Minnesota, help us so that we can take these agents out. Like, help us protect the agents, help us find, the criminals. And if you can do that, if you can help us, we can remove people from the city. So Sean, I know you didn't catch a ton of this because you were having some technical issues right before we jumped on, but like, what does he need to do like with this press conference?
So I think it's I mean, kind of what Dan touched on at the beginning. It's resetting the table a little. Here's what we're doing and why. Here's some of the tactics that we might be changing. But I think what I heard out of this, and I actually am surprised that I don't want to read into it, but I know, Dan, you seem to think that there was a deal. I actually think the opposite. I think that Homan's laying the table to say, look, we're trying to be reasonable. Here's all we're doing. He kept talking about the law versus, the federal law versus the Minneapolis and Minnesota laws and ordinances. I think he's laying the table to say, look, we'll focus more on exactly what we need to do, but we have a job to do. Your mayor's blocking us. And this is not helpful. So I think what he's trying to do is reset the narrative more than anything else.
Well, I think first off, this is not just well done on Tom Homan, well done by Trump and the White House. I mean, he is the right messenger to put out. That was very clear. I thought he is setting out to take the temperature down. The fact that he is saying, I'm going to meet with community leaders, I'm going to meet with local religious leaders, And he said, you can't fix the problem without local discussions. So right there, he also, by the way, had a great line. I am not about photo ops. I'm about solutions. Hello, Christy Nome. That's a little shot at like what's been going on. But look, he said he thanked the Minnesota Department of Corrections for honoring the fact that they are helping them and turning over criminals. He said he met with the Attorney General, Keith Ellison. For those who don't know, very progressive. When he was in Congress, he was one of the most progressive members of Congress. And he said that they agreed that the county jails may notify when criminals are being released so that ICE can go pick them up. So you're right, Sean, there were some parts that I think he's drawing a nice narrative, but don't lose sight of the fact that what he focused on completely was criminals. It's where they're on strong ground. And he said they are drawing up a plan to draw down officers. And that is an olive branch to the left that we hear you. We are getting out. We're just putting the plan together. Help us help you. You protect ICE, and we are going to get out very soon. Pitch perfect by Tom Homan. Democrats ought to meet him where halfway right now.
Dan, wait, just real quickly with Dan. Dan, can you just speak very quickly to who he is in the eyes of Democrats? Because this is a rare bird here. Somebody
You're talking about Tom Homan.
Yes, Homan got an award from President Obama, but also spoke on stage at the RNC, right? Like, so, like, how do they view it? Just very quickly.
Look, it's a spectrum right now, given the last year. So you're right. Prior to 2024, Tom Homan, if a Democrat had said, okay, we need to be tough on immigration, who should be our head of ICE? Tom Homan would be a name that people would talk about because he was under Barack Obama. He did a fantastic job, and Obama paid tribute to him by giving him the highest civilian award. Again, Obama deported almost 3 million people. So I've talked about this before. The 2012 campaign, they really had to manage how much activists were outraged, but they thought it was the right thing to do. Now, fast forward after the last year, Homan at times has been the point person for ICE. And of course, that just reflexively on the left, people don't like him. But if I said to Democrats, here are 10 names of people in the Trump administration that you would want leading, Stephen Miller would be on one end. Tom Homan would probably be the most acceptable, or the least objectionable, might be the better way to say that.
Tom Homan to the rescue. So there's reporting that he's already making changes in Minnesota, that ICE agents have been ordered to target immigrants with criminal backgrounds and criminal convictions, that they've been told to not engage with anti-ICE protesters. Sean, I'm curious, like, with this sort of shift in strategy, like, is there going to be a challenge with meeting those daily quotas that the White House has long sort of pushed in terms of ICE arresting people? I mean, CNN was talking about this right before the press conference. 3,000 people a day. That was like the goal. Round up 3,000 people a day. But if you're doing these more targeted operations, like, that's going to be difficult, if not impossible. Do they just need to sort of put that 3,000 number aside and focus on making sure the process looks good?
Well, can I add, Sean, before you answer that? Because one thing Homan said is, because this is on the left a big deal, that immigrants can come to local authorities, illegal immigrants, if they know of a crime or were witness to a crime. One of the allegations on the left is when those people showed up to assist in law and order, they were being picked up by ICE. And Homan said, we are not going to do that anymore. Now, that is huge, because that is an olive branch that illegals can start re-entering services and not fear that they're going to end up, being deported. So anyway, go ahead.
Look, I think it's an acknowledgement that right now the temperature is pretty high and hot. And so it's, how do we find a way to take it down a little, maybe focus our efforts other places? We have a million maps out there showing where a lot of the deportations have happened and done successfully. Obviously, as I said, I still maintain that I think the tactic should be for the president to say, we're pulling entirely out of Minneapolis, and make that an example for the rest of the country to say, you want to see what this looks like when you don't cooperate with us? That's fine. I think that, to be honest with you, politically would be a brilliant move. I will say one of the other optics that we have to acknowledge here is, if you looked at Tom Homan, he came out in front of a podium that said Department of Homeland Security, but in front of a flag that said Department of Homeland Security. this was, I mean, the ultimate. You mentioned the comments that he made about photo ops, total troll. Like, I mean, like I it was fantastic.
Let me tell you how to do a press conference.
No, but no. Just to be clear, he's basically like, he's not part of DHS. He's the White House guy, but he's basically like, that's saying, I now control you. I own you. Like, you're mine. I'm running the show. Like, that's DHS. He's not DHS. And I just get a kick out of, like, if you're sitting at DHS walking this, he didn't coordinate with Noam. He didn't do anything. Like, this is not at her behest. This is the president's behest. And he's making it very clear that he's in charge. But to Dan's point about Tone, I've known Tom a long time. And he is a gruff beat cop kind of guy. Like, he is a no nonsense. And this, to him, to some degree, I get a kick out of listening to him this morning, because I was like, it's killing him. Like, this is not Tom Homan. He is
really.
He is the kind of guy that tells you like it is. He makes no apologies for fighting on behalf of young children that are being trafficked. I mean, like, he's proud of it. He's got a million stories. He's very passionate. But I'm watching. This is like calm. Like, there's tax in that guy's shoes. I mean,
way more buttoned up than you.
Yeah, this is. I mean, Dan's right.
Go back and watch his interviews. His interviews earlier this year. I mean, he was very combative with a lot.
You'll ask him. You'll be like, Mr. Homan, tomorrow there's rain expected. You want to know about rain? I'll tell you about rain. When I crossed the southern border in 1978, there was rain coming, and like, that's Tom Homan watching the press conference this morning. Like I said, I get a chuckle. He is pitch perfect this morning. I know how passionate this guy is. And but he is completely focused on the job at hand, and I get a kick out of it.
And that's why Democrats have issue. You know, that's why after this last year, that's why I said Democrats don't care for him, but he's the least objectionable. Yep.
Let's move on to what's going on here in Washington. So the White House and Senate Dems, believe it or not, are actually on the cusp of a deal to avert a shutdown, which is kind of surprising. The White House is working with Chuck Schumer to strip out the DHS funding portion from this package of 6 spending bills. They would basically renegotiate the DHS portion of this, do a temporary, what's known as like a stopgap for DHS, give them more time to negotiate.
Which I said.
Well, I was going to say that my sort of take on this, and John, I want to get your thoughts on this. This is smart. I mean, the White House is reading the room. They are realizing that in a shutdown fight, even with Democrats, yes, being the ones to shut down the government, they can't win this. It would be very difficult for them to win a shutdown fight. I mean, how do you take this engagement between the Hill and the White House?
So I think they're playing it right politically, like to show, hey, we're trying, we're doing this. It's still the government is going to shut down, just to be clear, because
the House has to clear this after it goes
and I don't think you can't deem it. There are mechanisms where the House and the Senate can deem a bill. I don't think you can. And remember, there's the laws, the way the Constitution works, the House, all spending bills must originate in the House. So if the Senate passes something, regardless, the House has to, if there's any changes, it has to go back to the House and then come back to the Senate, by the way, because it can't originate in the Senate constitutionally. So we are headed for a shutdown. Now, the only option that I could see is that what they could do is a 48-hour stopgap measure. Johnson brings the House in and deems the bill, and then the Senate does it by unanimous consent. But again, you're walking, it's like that dude who climbed the skyscraper in Taiwan. Like, I would watch this thing the whole way through, because there's a lot of moving pieces that everything has to go right. And I also am not convinced the Democrats want a deal.
I was going to say, you think it's going to be only 48 hours for them to like finalize it?
No. That was a hypothetical. It could be 72 or 96.
I do wonder how long this will go for. How much time will they buy?
Once the House is expected back in Monday afternoon, regardless. So you could do a temporary deal where the House deems a bill. Johnson's in town. I saw him yesterday at the Treasury thing. So the House normally doesn't go out anyway. It's in pro forma session. He could deem a bill unless somebody goes on the floor and objects. Again, this is one where all the pieces have to play out perfectly. But my point in whether it's 24, 48, 72, 96 hours is that there are parliamentary tricks that you can play to buy time.
I want to pull up some polling real quick before you jump in, Dan. Let's pull up element 2, this new Fox News polling here. 59% of voters say ICE enforcement is too aggressive. That includes 71% of independents and 27% of Republicans. Wow. Just again, another example of the politics of this turning completely upside down. Dan, obviously, if they can potentially get to a deal today to buy time. But this is not the end all be all, right? They still have to cut a deal on DHS. We saw Schumer come out with a number of demands yesterday, tightening the rules for warrants, requiring ICE to coordinate with local authorities, uniform code of conduct, and then, of course, the more controversial piece, which is masks off, body cameras on. We're already seeing Republicans like James Langford say the masks off is just like a non-starter.
Yeah, I talked about Johnson. But the identification piece that we talked about yesterday is where this ends up.
I was going to say, Dan, you think that's more a negotiating tactic, like Democrats will come back and be okay with this thing we talked about yesterday, which is this notion of having an identifier that if there's a problem, the department can look it up, right? But you're not going to get people's faces and name tags.
Yeah, I mean, look, we just talked about process. Let's just cut to the chase. The White House, the politics, the polls, and the perception are all with Democrats. As I've said all week, White House is going to cave. Republicans in the House, let me just tell you right now, don't nibble. Just swallow and eat it. That's your best bet. The Democrats are going to win this. They're going to get their way. I can't tell you which of those, things on the table, is going to end up in it. But there will be changes. It will be codified. The White House just wants to move on. They do not want next week about this. They want to turn the page. So as I said earlier the other day, they're going to have a stopgap just to keep the train moving on the DHS. They're going to strip it out. And there will have been changes. And bravo, Democrats, for demanding, not caving, and winning.
Let's move on to our next segment. So there's new video from Alex Preddy from 11 days before his death showing him, vandalizing an ICE vehicle and acting in a way that he could easily have been arrested for back then. Now, I'm not saying, and I don't think any of us are going to be saying that this in any way justifies what happened to him on Saturday, right? These are different circumstances, but a lot of people are looking at this video and it is, breaking through the chatter in the political circle. So let's play that first real quick.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received
CNN has since also, it seems like, confirmed that is him. They were running the video last night on television. Dan, some on the right are holding this up as proof that.
By the way, his family confirmed it.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you're right. Dan, some on the right are sort of holding this video up as proof that Preddy was not some innocent, peaceful protester. What is your response to this? Does it influence the conversation at all?
No, it doesn't in any way, shape, or form. It does not change a single fact that we all watched on camera on Saturday. It does not change the fact that he was an unarmed man pinned to the ground, having been beaten and was shot. Does not change any of that. It just doesn't. So, look, it is a bad look. He shouldn't have done what he did earlier in the week. And this goes to the broader conversation about protesters getting out of control. But 11 days ago, kicking an ICE cam does not, suddenly, even if you wanted to play it out, let's say, okay, it's the same exact officers, same exact place. What? So, hey, you're the guy who kicked our car and spit. So we're going to throw you to the ground, beat you up and shoot you. That's nonsensical. So I get it. It's a discredit. It's chum in the water in partisan waters, but it's totally irrelevant to what happened on Saturday.
Sean, your take?
Well, I would take issue with the fact that it's totally irrelevant. Is it irrelevant? So legally and law enforcement wise, yes. Like, you can't use a previous incident and say, you did this 10 days ago, therefore you deserve X punishment. You get punished for the crime that you commit at the time, right? You can't relitigate. So there's two issues at stake in my mind. First of all, I've said this before. I don't whether it's Renee Good or Alex Preddy, like I don't want anyone to die. Like I mean, unless like I'm Catholic, there's some very extreme circumstances in which we believe in the death penalty or permit it. But so he didn't deserve that. But where I take issue is this narrative about him like being just this lowly ICU lovely guy that was out there. He spit on a federal official. He didn't hit a car. He vandalized it. He destroyed it. I mean, he broke the law in 2 instances. That's, again, if you want to go through the narrative. So what I have an issue with, and this is like going back to George Floyd, is that people on the left want to make these people out. Is it horrible what happened? 100%. No one deserves to have an outcome like that. And you know, without at least going through the judicial system and like, you know, being sentenced to death in a proper way. But the idea that this guy, the narrative that's been created by the left and the media is just not true. Now, that doesn't mean, again, two things can be true. Should he have been harmed or hurt? No. But this idea that he is this innocent, lovely, peaceful guy clearly is not true. And I think that is important to inject into the dialogue, because the hit is, oh, he's this horrible, horrible person. I mean, great guy. And yet here he is destroying government property, attacking a federal agent, and no one wants to acknowledge that. No.
Well, I would, flip it to say this is a classic case of trying to discredit somebody. What he did was wrong. But hold on. But that, just because he did one thing wrong doesn't mean that he's not a nurse helping veterans. Doesn't mean that he can't. I mean, but that's the thing. Look, I get it. It's politics. This is what happens. But and you cannot argue, to Sean's point, you can't argue with what you're seeing that he did 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay, but Dan, let me just.
I wouldn't defend it.
I know that this is my go-to, so I admit it. But here's my thing. Ashley Babbitt was an Air Force veteran. No one ever talked about the service to her country before she was shot. She was unarmed, shot without no weapon, and no one gave a damn. And no one talked about her service to the country and that this might have just been one bad day or whatever. She's a horrible person. She was trying to invade something. And yet this guy is a saint. I mean, John, I'm sorry, like the context is just not the way the left and the media portrays people. If it's not in pursuit of what they deem acceptable.
But Sean, we should say that even mainstream media was playing this video last night.
Yeah. And also I just have to say this, Sean, because you have now put the ball on the tee and given me the single biggest baseball bat in the world. Spitting on officers, kicking a car light. And we're going to bring up January 6th. I shall use restraint. And
okay, wait, hold on. Did Ashley Babbitt's hold on. All right, put the ball back on the tee, brother. Put the ball back on the tee. What was Ashley Babbitt's crime? Did she destroy any property that you know of?
Sean, the entire Capitol was attacked.
Not by Ashley Babbitt.
Okay.
Now you're going to attribute.
No need to get in a fight about who's,
I'll take that ball right back.
Law and order. Okay, here we go.
Yes, let's move on to what some of the base is saying right now. Okay, so MAGA, as you know, Sean, often gets in line with the president when he, does something that perhaps they didn't want him to do. I want to play some of what Steve Bannon has said about this U-turn in Minnesota. Let's pull up Steve Bannon's reaction, and we've seen similar reactions from MAGA when it comes to the new direction.
Rachel Maddow's right. Just make sure you embrace that today. You can't sugarcoat this. Let's not sugarcoat. We're not going to have happy talk here. It wasn't just a blink. It was a crater. Bovino, you see how they're mocking Bovino? Because they know Bovino is a man of action. This is about an invasion of our country of 15 or 20 million. Of course, the business community is not going to want to deport, mass deportations. Of course, the neoliberal neocons at Fox News, who do you think got us in this problem? The Murdochs are part of it. Of course, their paid mouthpieces over there are going to say, yeah, well, you got to really rethink this, all that. This is a retreat, and it ain't a strategic retreat.
So Steve Bannon right there giving voice to what we're hearing a lot from people in MAGA right now, which is, what are you doing to the president? Like, you should be invoking the Insurrection Act. You should be going the opposite way. Do you think, Sean, these voices will very quickly sort of get in line, or is the White House sort of worried about that? Are they actively working behind the scenes to convince people that there's a reason they have to do this? And it's all about politics in the midterms.
Well, it is all about politics in the midterms. I mean, look, this is what I've said to folks before, like, because I understand Steve's issue, and frankly, I get it. As somebody who is, I would think that I would be pretty strong on border enforcement and deportations. But at the end of the day, if you lose power, you can't do anything that you want to do. Sitting in the minority and throwing rocks is not, you don't get anything done. If President Trump, I was there, Steve was there in term 1. When you lose the House and the Senate, it goes from your agenda and your people to impeachment, investigation, impeachment, investigation. And so I would argue, okay, I don't disagree. Yeah, it's a bit of a retreat. We're downplaying it, but we're also trying to salvage being able to continue to enact the America First agenda. If we lose this, if we lose the Senate, we don't just lose the policy. You can't get any of his nominees through the Senate. And you know what? Sometimes I know people don't like hearing that. The reality, I don't think we should go soft on immigration at all. But that's why what I'm suggesting is quite the opposite. I think the president should pull out of Minnesota and say, we're going to make it an example. You guys, I'll show you what happens when you don't want to cooperate with federal agents, when you don't want to enforce the law. And then the president says, I'm going to go work with cities that want to maintain law and order and show exactly what happens, like Washington, D.C. and other places. So my personal view is, I get what they're doing. I understand Steve's not wrong, but I think we have to be honest about politically what will happen if we're not smart.
It's like Nancy Pelosi used to say to the base, win first, legislate second. First thing you need to do is make sure you keep your majorities or win the majorities. Dan, some Democrats on the left in the House, they're watching what Schumer and Senate Dems are doing right now, and they're not happy. They don't love that the asks are just about reforming ICE. They want to cut ICE, abolish ICE. But when this comes back to the House, they're going to need those Democrats' votes to get this through. I mean, we're going to see a bunch of conservatives who also will not vote for this. Yep. Do Democrats in the House line up behind a deal like this, even though they don't like it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, not all. No, for the reasons that you just said, because just as Sean, the GOP base is bristling and saying, what are you doing? There's a part of our base that is bristling at not just this deal, but go to what Homan said. The recognition that ICE has a lawful role to play enacting laws that Congress passed, right? So in other words, ICE exists. ICE is going to do its job. And I think that, the middle, the moderates, the New Dems, the Blue Dogs in the House would love to cast a vote for reform that is endorsed by Donald Trump, that allows them to take an issue that has bedeviled them for the last 10 years, potentially off the table, or at least nullify it. It's not a cudgel. It's not an asset. It's just, now let's go talk affordability. So Democrats will ultimately embrace this, not all, but most. But look, a part of our base, the Philadelphia DA yesterday, talked about hunting ICE agents for the next decade, like the Nazis or the Germans hunted Nazis, or whoever it was, the Hague hunted Nazis for 20 years. That's insane.
Yeah,
like that rhetoric is insane. Yeah. And so the party is going to have to. Both parties right now, to Sean's point, want to win and have to try to control their bases. Whoever owns the middle on this issue has a better chance.
You know what I think is interesting to me, just at a messaging standpoint. If let's just say hypothetically you're a criminal, like the Providence, Rhode Island, the leftist crazy mayor there made a big poobah yesterday about not enforcing, not working with ICE, not cooperating with ICE. The thing that's so ironic to me that doesn't get enough attention is if you're a criminal and you want to know where to go hide, they're like, come to our city. You can hang out here and we won't allow anyone to come find you. This is literally the most insane idea that a politician has come up with, which is to give basically, haven to people who are admitting to be criminals and saying, I'm not going to work with the enforcement agency that's going to get it out. Total side note, yesterday on the show, Ron Johnson told me he's voting no today as well. I mean, they're going to have a Republican problem on these votes, not just a Democratic problem.
Interesting. We'll see if the White House leans in to get a deal passed to the finish line, or at least, this temporary deal to buy more time to put a deal together. Okay, let's go to New York. So New York City Mayor Mamdani is ratcheting up his tax the rich rhetoric, which Kathy Hochul doesn't exactly love right now. Just an hour before she was set to take the stage for her first re-election campaign event, Mamdani held a press conference or like a presser on budget matters, where he said it's basically time for the rich to pay more. He bigfooted her. So Dan, she sort of brushed this off when she was asked about it later in the day. She said mayors have their press conferences, basically like whatever. It doesn't bother me. But how much of a problem is this going to be for her reelection?
There's going to be a problem for her, for Schumer, and for Jeffries, because one of the things that Mamdani is beginning to make clear is his organizing and the volunteer army and activist army behind him is not going to disband. And they are planning a kind of days of action in Albany to really get in Democrats' faces that you need to do this. Now, it may, help with members of the state legislature from New York City, but if you're a Democrat from Buffalo, Westchester, other places, a bunch of kids out of Brooklyn demanding that you raise taxes. So I'm going to be very curious to see, one of Trump's most effective things is the last 10 years, if you crossed him, he and MAGA got in your face. They got in your face at home. They got in your face in your office in Washington, D.C., on cable television, and said, you need to listen to Donald Trump. Can Mamdani do that in Albany is going to be a great question. And again, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who are New York City residents, will be asked, do you support raising taxes? And I don't believe Hochul wants to, but this goes to immigration. You need your base. So
But
what do you do?
Just to play a little devil's advocate though here, Sean, I mean, there's a populist movement, where people want to see rich people pay more,
Totally.
right? I mean, like nobody wants their taxes to go up, of course, but like they're like increasingly, I feel like more people are like, oh, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. And I don't know, like I feel like this could be a little more complicated.
Sean, you're muted.
Oh, Sean is muted.
He doesn't want to
I'm
admit
trying to be
raising
polite while Dan was talking. Look, there's a reason that Gavin Newsom said no to the billionaires tax. Look, do you know how many stories anecdotally I've heard of just people saying I'm out of California and they've moved to Montana or Wyoming, Texas,
yeah,
right there. Look at the migration, and it's not just anecdotal. Look at the census, where people are going. We didn't talk about this the other day. The census right now shows in 2030, Republicans will have 9 more electoral votes because of migration. People are leaving blue states. Gavin Newsom, for all that you can say about him politically, the guy isn't stupid, right? And he basically was like, we're losing population. I continue to push these billionaires out. Guess who pays the bills? I mean, that's the reality. It's at some point, and Dan can probably speak more to this. New York has somewhat of an inherent base because of the financial stuff, but a lot of the folks that I know, have moved to New Jersey for a million reasons, Connecticut. And so
Florida.
you're going to continue to push people out. And when you do that, and the one thing about rich people, not only do they have money, but they have smart people around them that know how to hide their money. And so at some point, Mamdani is not going to realize that they're just going to, claim that they're homesteading in New Jersey or Florida and they'll do whatever, but like they'll lose a lot of that tax base. So
The only
Dan.
thing is, the 1% is just that. They're only 1%. The other 99% are, to your point, Rachael, bristling. There's a reason Donald Trump considered twice raising taxes on the rich and had to be walked off the ledge by the old kind of Wall Street Journal crowd. Trump knows it plays well with the other 99% to point your finger. It always has the world over.
Right.
But to Sean's
we were
point,
talking about this as part of the big beautiful bill at one point.
But there's always a reality of look, it's like a
Very
lot of things. It pulls well, and then the reality comes in, and somebody
Correct.
says, "Oh, do you want to know
Right.
what's going to happen when you do that?" And,
Yep.
and that's I always tell people when I was at, this is not for nothing, but it's one of my, like when I was at the U.S. Trade Rep's office, we were the first. It was the first time we ever filed a case, an infringement case, copyright infringement case, intellectual property case against China for movies. You know what China did in response? They didn't show a U.S. movie for 6 months. Suddenly realizing like it's easy to do the thing and then realize retaliatory wise what happens and who pays the bigger price. So I only say that because these guys make these moves policy wise and sometimes don't fully appreciate what's going to happen. I will say the other big thing out of New York, you mentioned the tension there. Hochul can't get anyone to be her lieutenant governor. Now, I don't know, like, I mean, remember, she was a lieutenant governor. So at least you could say, look what I did. If I get into a scandal and start doing bad things to women like Cuomo, maybe you'll get promoted. But I mean, the idea that she is struggling to get anybody to accept being lieutenant governor, that's hugely embarrassing.
Dan, what do you make of that?
Look, I think it's the party's going left, and you're asking yourself, do I want to kind of get involved in all of this? Yeah. She'll find somebody, because there's New York State is full of ambitious
yeah, just going to put out like want ads.
But it's just like if your VP says no, not a good look.
For sure.
So, yeah.
For sure. It's like getting dumped. Okay, let's talk Georgia.
I got a lot of experience with that. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Georgia. So the FBI raided Fulton County's election operations center on Wednesday, showed up with trucks, started getting a bunch of boxes that had 2020 ballots from a warehouse and putting them in the truck and taking them away. This is apparently part of the president's, long-held belief that there was fraud, long-held and unproven, I should say, belief that there was fraud in Fulton County. Sean, what is the administration doing here? And I'm just like, is there any part of you that says just let it go? Like, just let it go?
No part of it.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
look,
tell us
what
are they doing? What are they doing?
Well, Fulton County has admitted that they didn't do signature verification. I mean, this isn't like a conspiracy. The officials admitted it. And I think that we need to get to the bottom of this. Why would we allow this to continue if we know you're not abiding by the law or doing it? So I'm excited they're actually not just sweeping it under the rug and saying no. It's the FBI. It's a lot of career agents. So the left can cry all they want, but this isn't some partisan, committee on the Hill. These are federal agents doing it. So
is the point then here to show that something went wrong and make sure they do it correct the second time? Or is it just to suggest that, there could have been different results to the election?
Maybe both. But I mean, the bottom line is we don't know yet. I mean, they haven't announced anything. We know what happened. I think it's right to ask questions, but I think Dan's shaking his head because he realizes that they might have gotten caught.
Dan, what?
I'm laughing because
Sean on this one.
It's so absurd and so embarrassing. Georgia is a Republican state. The Georgia governor, the Georgia lieutenant governor, everyone,
Secretary of State, Brad,
said nothing to see here. We looked into it. Now hold on. Why aren't they looking at the rest of the state of Georgia? So if some protocols weren't followed, we should all be horrified and on the case to look at all of Georgia. But no, we don't want to do that. Go back to Trump's phone calls on tape. Find me more votes. I got to have more votes. In 2000, Al Gore's big mistake, they only focused on Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach counties. And what did the court say? You should have looked at the whole state, right? It was obvious what they were doing. They were hunting for votes in Democratic areas they thought they could flip them, right? The hanging chads. This would be like if President Pete Buttigieg says, I'm going to reopen Florida 26 years ago.
Wait, time out. Fair enough.
So
but you realize Fulton County has admitted it. This isn't the whole state saying we did something wrong.
The governor, the secretary of state, the courts, Trump is over, I think it's like 50,000 at this point, nationwide, in Georgia, everywhere. It is a Republican state. Almost all those judges in Georgia are Republican who all endorsed Trump and said, pal, you got it wrong.
Have there been other counties who said they didn't follow procedure?
Fulton's been the biggest one because it has signature verification. They said they didn't do it.
I'll also just add one more piece. No Democrat on the face of the earth is going to believe a single thing the Trump administration says on
Good.
This. None.
Okay, wow, lots of really tough partisan topics today. I feel like we all need to get in a bubble cuddle blanket and just
That's what makes it
cuddle
fun.
after this conversation. Okay.
This makes it fun. Let's go back to Nicki Minaj and the tire.
But we should acknowledge, I mean, people are having a real tough time this week, like in terms of the tensions in the country right now. It should just a reminder that we should all take a breath and all respect
Trump
each other's
account,
views.
get your $1,000.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take some questions.
Well, and on Sean and I, our sports thing, I haven't said it because it seemed a little, tough to say, but Minnesota, for those who don't know, their Vikings, the NFL team, their quarterback, Sam Darnold, last year, who they decided to let go, is now leading the Seahawks into the Super Bowl against Sean's Patriots. It's like a double whammy for the people of Minnesota.
Who doesn't like Minnesota?
Oh, to lose your quarterback. It was a free agent. It doesn't happen in the NFL much. That's salt in the wound.
I still haven't decided who I'm going to root for in that game, by the way. So,
okay,
let's move on. All right. Mr. Krause, Troy Krause asks, it appears that more and more allies are visiting China. What does this really mean for the U.S., our economy, and our security? Good question.
Great. I think it goes to what Sean said earlier in his example about trade with the movies. And, they tried to penalize China, and China said, fine, we'll just not show your movie. See how that feels. You can only use a stick so long before you got to start using carrots. And at some point, the White House is going to have to realize they have a problem. We, the country, has a problem. We are only 5% of the world's population, i.e. our market is not the end all be all. We need overseas markets.
Well, again, remember what you're doing in China. You're not really exporting to there. You're importing from there. And that's what they want. They want more cheap crap from China. I think
they want to sell to China too. I mean, they want to sell handbags and wine and BMWs and
right. And they have a very restricted market. They're unbelievable. Their ownership regulations are onerous at best. Look, I think it's a fantastic question. What does it mean for our economy and our security? It undermines both. I think it's interesting. I get, is when Keir Starmer from the UK said that he was meeting with the Chinese, he sort of telegraphed, hey, don't read too much into this. I'm just maintaining relationships versus how Carney did that from Canada. Carney had to backtrack what he was saying. I think maintaining relations is one thing. I think we need to keep an eye on a lot of these people. I think if you look back at how we dealt with Huawei a few years ago, it's this Chinese technology and computer company, and they were basically offering them dirt cheap to all these countries because the idea was, hey, we'll give you cheap electronics, and then we get to basically tap into your entire grid and steal your data. The U.S. did a really good job of getting out there and saying, if you do this, like, we're not playing ball with you. We're not going to share intelligence and all this if you're using Huawei computers. And it was effective. And I think we've got to look back on that model and say, you've got to decide like who you're with, because this isn't just about friends. I mean, this is truly an existential question. China seeks world domination. And so if you get in bed with them, it's at your own peril.
Yeah. Let's take another one. Okay. Robert asks, question, how will the new division reportedly investigating fraud be received given the opposite picture of Trump pardoning people who commit fraud?
I'm not sure what division.
He announced Assistant Attorney General last night. That is. So if you remember, the vice president, when he was in the briefing room, said, we will be announcing this new position at DOJ. The president announcing that person last night, who, is going to deal directly with this. Look, I think that at the end of the day, it's more about what's uncovered. Right. So it's not about obviously it's a great to have a name to back it up, but I think it's more important what they do. So we've seen, a lot of the stuff with Nick Shirley and it's not learning centers, it's learning centers, transportation and now Linda McMahon's doing a great job uncovering a lot of the stuff in the education stuff. Dr. Oz has started to uncover a lot of the fraud. He had a great video out the other day showing some of these Medicare centers that were like 20 of them cramped in one building, milking people of money. I'm a huge advocate of this. And I think it's not so much the people, but like if we can uncover great things. So anyway.
But the question, though, is getting at this notion of
but people
arming Democrats by pardoning people who had been fraudsters.
Right. I guess my point is, maybe I should have been more explicit with that. I think if you're uncovering vast amounts of fraud, no one's going to I don't even remember anyone who got, I know the Coinbase dude or whatever, but I don't think the average person is out there keeping a list of who President Trump pardons.
Well, that's because the list is so long of fraudsters, drug dealers, and others that he's pardoned.
He didn't pardon Hunter Biden. He didn't pardon Hunter Biden.
No, just the president. Who was it? The former president, I think it was Nicaragua, who are his own CIA said was the largest cocaine dealer. But hey, so what?
Is that where Hunter got his?
Look, and to Sean's point, fraud is fraud. You always want to be on the side of anti-fraud and exposing the corruption and other things. I will be curious if this is only in blue states or if it expands to red states. I will also say, should Democrats get subpoena power back, one of the things that I think they will focus on and is going to be really uncomfortable for J.D. Vance, and some people may go to jail, is the level of corruption in Washington, D.C. right now.
Why are you saying it'd be uncomfortable in particular? Oh, because he'll be the
because there will be people, I believe, in the president's orbit whose dealings and family dealings may come to light, and we'll see. Right hands will be raised, and that's when it gets real. So we'll see.
Okay, let's take another one. More questions. Okay, from John to Dan. Does James Tallarico have a chance in the Texas primary and then in the general for senator?
He does have a chance in the primary. He leads. I know Jasmine Crockett is getting ready to go up on air with ads, and her campaign, or people close to her campaign, recently held a call with supporters to say they are going to be doing a lot of contrast messaging, which is code for we're going negative on Tallarico. He has a chance. Look, in the general one, it depends who the Republican is. If it's Cornyn or what's his name, the Ken Paxton. It also just depends on where the winds are blowing. You know, if Latinos really do leave the Republican Party in droves and come back to the Democrats, if things go off the rails, Texas is a big trade state, like pro-trade. And it was a very strong anti-immigration state that is becoming less so. So it is possible, but it would, if we win Texas, it is a wave of, you know, epic proportions. Likely we might get closer, but never know.
Why I am pleased to announce this morning my full and total endorsement of Jasmine Crockett.
Okay, guys, that's all the time we have today. Sean, who do you have?
It's Thursday. It's the panel.
Oh, the panel.
Well, yeah, by the way, I will be watching this vote today because Ron Johnson wanted to make very clear yesterday, I'm not voting for the package. He told the leadership. So this could be a really interesting vote later today. We'll break down that a lot on the Minnesota and what's going on in ICE and so much more tonight on the panel. Chris Stegall, who's actually he's a radio host in Pennsylvania. He was at the event yesterday. Emily Sturge from Campus Reform and Elizabeth Barcona from we call her our California correspondent. I'm not sure she actually agreed to that title, but I do.
It's like the New York Post going into California. They've
definitely done. By the way, that California Post, they've done a great job of making it clear that they are out there.
Yeah.
I am going to be doing a column in the next 24 hours about Democrats becoming the new party of the shutdown. I just find this so fascinating that they have totally changed the politics on this from where I sit. As somebody who has covered Capitol Hill for a long time, the rule was always if you make the demand, you lose. And they've turned that on its head. And so I've been super fascinated by that. And so in the inner circle, I will be doing a deep dive into that and the politics of a shutdown. Subscribe at RachelBade.com, RachelBade.com. It's free. And
if you want behind the scenes, the kids call them BTS photos of tonight's premiere of Melania, I'll post on Instagram for y'all.
All right, wait, Sean, am I correct? The attire is business attire or is it black tie?
Business attire.
Okay. All right. I am looking forward to your photos here.
Yeah, I had it's interesting you bring that up because I had an interesting shoe choice yesterday. Because I was asking I'd actually texted Rachel and I said, what are the sidewalks like?
Totally.
I was going to get dropped off about an Uber. I took an Uber into the city. And she was like, yeah, it's a little sketchy. So I wore, I actually wore combat boots and on my suit. And I was like, okay, if the Kennedy Center, like, how do you pull it?
And Trump's a big shoe guy, right? He like polished dress shoes.
Yep.
So, really? He doesn't do brown at all. Never. Oh. Nope. Just
no. Notice, by the way, the suit's always blue. The shoots are
that I've noticed.
Black. Shirt is always white. It's very
he wore a pale blue to court in 2023 or 2024 one day when they were in New York. And I only know this because it made news in places that track that he wore a pale blue shirt. It was like the first time in 10 years that he'd been photographed in a non-starched white shirt.
Yeah, it's very IBM. And by the way, it's funny. JD Vance tells a funny story about it now but the president's very specific about where he gets his shoes too. There's this Italian place that JD said that when Rubio and JD, he tells this funny story in the middle of a meeting. Trump looked down and goes, "Where do you guys get your shoes?" Because they're horrible, and pulled out a catalog and literally ordered the two of them shoes right there on the spot. But he
cares about what you look like. I've talked to other reporters who are like, "Oh my gosh, I wore open-toed shoes." Like I've talked to other reporters who've been in the pool who've been like, "Shit, I wore open-toed something. Like shouldn't have worn this." Like he's gonna be glaring at me.
Oh, he cares about your appearance big time. And look, I give him credit as someone who's come from he came from entertainment. He understands the power of presentation. He understands the message that it conveys, and repetition and consistency. I mean, I give him credit for that. He always looks very strong and professional, and he knows what he's doing. He does.
All right,
you can judge my outfit tonight, Dan.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Who are you wearing is the question. Okay, we got to.
Ike Behar every night.
Oh, you don't follow his Insta. You would know the answer to that if you followed Sean Spicer on Instagram.
I follow him. I just don't have my Insta open all the time. He posts way more than
It'll be all Ike Behar tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Well, have fun tonight. We will be back tomorrow, 8:30. Thanks, guys.
See you.